This is Harry Potter Quidditch Champions. We're here on Xbox Series X. Be sure to like the video. Subscribing is great as well. This is the experience of Quidditch finally coming to life as you go about competing in local or online matches, as you create your own wizard well, set of wizards and witches and whatnot, and then you go out and compete on the Quidditch pitch in order to bring glory, whether you're doing so in the kind of campaign experience or competing online against other players. There's a fair bit to this package, and it should be interesting for those that have always wanted to experience the thrill of, well, the sporting event of Quidditch and seeing it come to life in a video game format, which is something we did see in like the 2000s with the Quidditch World Cup experience, and then now we're finally fully seeing as a competitive sort of multiplayer thing for those that are, well, big fans of Quidditch and what it has to offer. So yeah, first off, you've got kind of like a sort of campaign where you are with your particular individual attempting to kind of make your way through the big cops, and it's not really story based, but it's sort of a mode of sorts, as to say. Then you have your multiplayer, which you can do locally or online. When you are playing locally, obviously you got bots and whatnot. When you're online, it is up to 6 players, 3 players per team. Each player controls 2 different perspectives, as you can tell. So you're kind of doing these combo type characters that you can switch between. I got stuck with the Keeper and then also my Chaser. And you essentially switch between them. You might also be someone that's like a Seeker trying to go after the Snitch, which is a whole little mini game within this game. And yeah, it definitely does, I would say, genuinely bring the experience of Quidditch to life in short, quick matches and bursts. So it's something that's a little easy to dive into, and it's a little overly complicated, so it's sort of like, I think it's hitting those Rocket League type vibes. It definitely looks like sort of a Rocket League type thing. Like Rocket League, though, I feel is a little simpler to get into, whereas this has a bit more complexity, and I think that might be a little overwhelming for some, but others will find it interesting and dive into it. I do sort of question a little bit the longevity of this one. I think coming off of the whole concept of being, you know, Harry Potter kind of based, and having some of the Harry Potter characters would definitely make this more enticing. But I do ponder how long the online and how well the online will take off. So that should be interesting to see. Gameplay-wise, that really is sort of the experience. Holy vibration. Yeah, but no, that really is the experience. You kind of go in, you do these quick matches, you kind of earn, I guess you would say, skill points, and you can distribute those to a max for individual kind of characters, making certain abilities stronger. So if you're sort of new to the game and other people have been playing it, they'll have a character that's maxed out, and that will definitely be an advantage against other players, especially if you're like, say, trying to collect the Snitch, and then the other player has like a maxed out character you don't. You're not going to be able to compete as well, but it is pretty quick to grab points and perks and skills. And there's also the broom upgrading, which again, kind of a little bit of pay-to-win like vibes in that regard, but you don't pay, it's all like earned in-game. But I'm just saying, like, there is that progression system where it'll be a little harder for some people to dive in and kind of play this freshly, just because some players will have all the advantages, and as like the community kind of like changes over time, there'll probably be more and more intense optimized players that you'll be going against. Let's jump to the next match here. So yeah, that was something I kind of noticed, was just how the skill system kind of plays out and how that might impact like the longevity of like new players coming in versus those that are a little bit more skilled. It kind of feels like the improvement skills kind of aren't necessary, but it gives you like a little bit of a sense of progression in that, and then after a while you kind of stop caring once you have like some optimized I guess you would say, characters and or classes going. It would have been cooler to have my customized character kind of go across all the different positions, but you essentially have to set up 6 different, I guess you would say, characters in order to like have your full roster of different individuals going for the different positions. So I guess you can sort of customize some of them, and then maybe pick some of them as like Hogwarts heroes that you've sort of unlocked, and you know, you got like the Weasleys and stuff like that. A bunch of fan favorites are present. From a gameplay perspective, I think the game looks sort of fine. Definitely going to be a dynamic 4K resolution, but it doesn't have like the greatest level of sort of visual clarity to it. They went with a very animated sort of aesthetic and style in terms of like the visuals and the characters, and it looks okay, it looks fine. It's not anything too visually special. It honestly looks like something you would maybe play on your phone in the modern era. It's alright, and then 60 FPS. It seems to mostly run pretty smooth. You might notice like a frame drop here or there, but you're not probably going to notice it too much at all. And then we've got cross-platform play, and yeah, it's pretty straightforward from visual perspectives, like, and a good selection of environments that you can dive into. I was kind of hoping that someone would want to pass, but you're too far away for me to pass it to you, and then they're going to score. Oh, never mind, my AI buddy, myself. My other split self grabbed it, so that's great. Oh, and then the snitch is coming, and then someone would switch and do like a snitch kind of like chase, which is kind of neat. It's a little too set up, in my opinion, in terms of being something that's like kind of easy to do. I wish it was a little bit more kind of luck-based, the snitch setup. And yeah, it's just kind of interesting how that's all designed, and you do this little chase sequence and kind of bump into each other, and then, you know, someone's usually trying to bludgeon the other folks, and it's a strangely intense and combative sort of thing. Oh, jeez. I'm getting attacked like crazy. For a Harry Potter game, I tend to die a lot in this, which is kind of funny. But going back to the visuals, as I had mentioned, there is a wide range of unique like level locations. You get sort of here the boring kind of Weasley homestead area, which I guess some people really like, I don't know. And then you get some of the more exotic school locations, which have like crowds, and there's the Quidditch World Cup area, and they all have like a different vibe. And then there's some that have a little different seasonal type stuff going on too. So you might have like a different condition that kind of changes the look of the place, and it is mostly like superficial type stuff. The design is obviously going to be the same because it's a sporting game. And yeah, it's just kind of like, oh, there's the snitch going by, which I can't grab. It's neat, like it plays well enough. It's decently easy to kind of move around in and control your broom, and there's some other tricks for brooming where you can like do like a broom drift and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty, like, it's just okay. I don't really find this to be anything too mind-blowing, honestly. If you've always wanted to play Quidditch as a video game and you never experienced the old school version of it, you know, this is kind of a way to go about it. It does feel like a lot of the matches are kind of like lopsided, especially when you're playing and there's not tons of players out there, and you kind of end up with the same ones kind of multiple times, and you're sort of like, wow, they're just destroying us. It's kind of like, again, very Rocket League-like in terms of gameplay, the look and the feel and all that, but kind of minus the sort of really fine-tuned parts of Rocket League that make that one a little bit more interesting. And I'm imagining there's going to be like a lot of intense fans that enjoyed this one and have fun playing it, and that's really great. And I think it is kind of a unique game. Like, there's not really anything like this. I would have maybe preferred to have this like baked into Hogwarts Legacy instead, but yeah, like if you've always wanted a Quidditch game, which I always thought Quidditch as a multiplayer thing would have been really cool, but had to have been more interesting in like the 360 era, or the early Xbox One era would have been kind of more interesting for this sort of thing. And yeah, I don't know, it's just okay. like it seems like there's lots of stuff in there, sort of battle pass type thing to work towards, and you know the gameplay loop is pretty quick. It's just like I would have preferred if it was full matches instead of having like AI kind of thrown in. I think that takes away a lot of the strategy and the actual like having to work as a team, because you just kind of switch between different perspectives. And yeah, I don't know, it's sort of so-so. I know a lot of people for like Harry Potter are like pretty dedicated hardcore fans, and they don't like any sort of Harry Potter type criticism on things, which is, you know, interesting to say the least. But you know, it is all right, it's fine. I don't think my interest is really going to keep in this too long. Probably go in and just get some more achievements and then kind of call it a day. But there's definitely, you know, a full game behind this, I guess. And then even if multiplayer doesn't fully pan out, you can play it against the AI endlessly, which is kind of neat. But yeah, a lot of really lopsided games in this one. Next match. Yeah, and you kind of feel like a lot of it, you're sort of just flying about, wandering, especially if the other team has like a good grasp on what they're doing and their team level, and then playing with the bots and stuff thrown in. And I wonder if it would be harder to field, you know, full kind of teams as well in terms of actually getting the full player matches, and that's probably why they set it up as like 3 real players against 3 real players, is to try to just make sure that the matchmaking still is relatively fast and never too slow. And it would be cool to see a full scope game mode kind of be available, but yeah, I don't know there would be any sort of issues in trying to get that going, but that would be a little bit more enticing to me. And as I said, you know, if there's ever any issues with the multiplayer side of this, at least you can still always play it locally, which I think is really great, and there's a good amount of customization present and a good amount of options here for how you want to play and how you want to dive in. And I'm sure there'll probably be a decently hardcore group that really kind of gets behind this, as Harry Potter fans usually are. Pretty intensive gameplay wise. They always, you know, the games and stuff really get intense, and I guess the word would be really passionate about, you know, the options and what's out there. And I know that Quidditch has been something that's been desired by the community in this format for quite a long time, so it is cool to finally get that. Oh, we waited that long for a team, and then what is going on there? Just wanted to see the scoreboard, and then somebody quits right away. Is that because they weren't the they were the keeper? People don't usually want to play as the keeper, which is fair. You know, it's kind of like, eh. I get that. Especially if you do the play any role, you know, because you kind of pick your roles beforehand, and I could definitely see where some people want to be certain positions, but not other positions. Yeah, it all makes sense gameplay-wise. I definitely see the kind of the conflict appeal there and everything, but I think this one, it's okay. Like, it's fine, as I've mentioned a few times. It gets the job done, like, it emulates the sport. I just kind of don't know if it fully like blows my mind gameplay wise. It's sort of like it's just alright. I don't know what more I was expecting, but yeah, it just feels like it's a little bit further off from what I imagined this would come out. Like, it really is neat, and I think the coolest part of this experience, really, as I've said a few times, is just the people that have always wanted to experience Quidditch as a video game. They always thought it would be really cool as a video game. Finally get to fully experience that to the fullest, as I do believe from my experience of it that this does actually fully kind of capture it, even with the technical details, which I think might make it a little harder for some to fully, you know, kind of get into this one from a general crowd, because I think it might be a little niche of an audience. But oh, come on. You're driving me crazy. Ugh, and then the stupid control scheme where it's Y plus the right stick. That's so hard to click when you're doing it on the Xbox, because it's, you have to move your kind of fingers off of the proper setup for that one. Kind of annoying, but yeah, so I am curious if this actually hits the greater crowd, or if this might be too weird and niche of a thing where I think some people might be thrown off, because like Rocket League, which again is a perfectly fine and generally well set up comparison. Looks aesthetically like this, kind of plays a little bit like this, but Rocket League it's soccer, but you're in a car, which is really easy to kind of grab, whereas this is sort of like, if you don't care about Harry Potter or know about Harry Potter, this just kind of probably looks a little ridiculous. Like, it's a sporting type thing, so I mean, you can sit here and kind of play it, and if you watched along this long, I think you kind of get an idea of the general gameplay flow in regards to, like, the different balls and kind of the different positions, chasing, doing the bludgeoning, batting, and then, you know, being like a keeper, and then the regular chasers. It is pretty easygoing, and then personalization elements and gameplay-wise. It's just, like, it's kind of, again, complex in terms of the concept of gameplay, but also not really necessarily overly complex otherwise. Is my Seeker kind of downed? I don't know if this was specifically to me pass-wise, but we'll just kind of keep passing it along.
Who will be the first to find the snitch?
Let's see if we can get the snitch here. But I really like, the snitch is supposed to be such a special part of this game. You basically get like 2 snitch catches, you know, per kind of go, and it's, yeah, it is a little odd that it's like something that is so traditional to it. I just wish there was like a little bit more kind of like luck to it, if that makes sense, or I don't know. It's just kind of weird because it's like you have to be this specific role, and you have to go into this specific setup, and only come at this specific time and do this specific chase. And yeah, it's a little odd, but at least you get the full octane movement and the speed, and you know, it captures the kind of look of Harry Potter and sort of animated, easygoing way. It's just like, again, it feels so much at times like a little bit of a mobile type effort, and I wonder if premium is the most effective way for this. I almost had it too. Oh, that's so frustrating. It's like right there. It's like right there for me. There we go, I got it. Nice. Hogwarts Legacy, you get that character if you didn't know. Then you get like this reset. And kind of surprised I didn't get the achievement there for not getting hit by the legend thing, because that should have been that achievement for me. And that wins the match. What? So I guess we gotta do yet another lobby. The fun of Hogwarts in terms of Harry Potter Quidditch Champions never ends. Hogwarts is just the house. Doesn't make any sense, but you get what I'm saying. Harry Potter, all connected. It's all part of the thing of the thing. Alright, let's do the next match. So yeah, to kind of summarize, I think it hits the mark for those that are really intense fans. I don't know how well it's going to hit the greater casual market. I don't know if the branding helps or doesn't help with that in regards to getting people interested, because I know that was a big thing when I checked out Hogwarts Legacy, was having to really focus on the fact that, like, even if you didn't like Harry Potter, you could still really enjoy that game because it was a great role-playing game of Magic by itself. And I guess the foundation here is kind of neat as a distinct sports game, but it might be a little hard for some people to get into as they find the kind of setup and objectives of it a little weird. Like, it's silly, but still a little complicated and just sort of strange. They do have tutorials for you that go on quite a long time, which is always fun, but yeah, I guess that's the big holdup, is whether or not this looks really enticing and interesting, or if it just looks a little too bizarre and weird for, you know, someone to enjoy like yourself that's watching this. And I think that in itself is kind of the interesting part of this, whether or not it actually like builds up and finds an audience. Because I could see some people getting really intense about it and having like a good setup team with strategy and discussion and chatter, and lots of other people not being as intense about it and kind of being like, wow, you know, some of these matches can get pretty lopsided one way or the other really quickly. And that in itself was kind of fascinating to see. So yeah, it's generally quite fine. I think you'll probably maybe enjoy what it has to offer if you're a big fan. If you're looking at it from the outside, I think it's really going to come down to the type of individual you are, and if you find this to be engaging and intriguing or just a bit too strange, that's really going to come down to your personal preferences, interests, and intrigue in this type of thing. But it's cool that this does exist finally, and as it does, it's kind of neat.